Yeah, it looks like we're live on
Hi,
Facebook.
guys. Thank you so much. Becky Thames here, and I am live. Super duper excited. I have some special guests for you guys, and I know that I usually don't bring on special guests. So you are in for a treat tonight. You guys are in for a treat tonight. And it's 7:15 p.m. And people may be like, Becky, why are you having a class at 7:15 p.m.? And so my guests have little babies and they just put their babies to sleep, right? And
Yeah.
we work our businesses through the nooks and crannies of our life. So their little babies are going to sleep. And my big teenage boys are probably going to come barreling through that door any minute from fishing. So you're going to hear like 4 teenage boys like, oh, I caught this, I caught that. So I'm going to try and have them be quiet, but that's how we do it. We work this in the nooks and crannies of our life. So before I
Exactly.
introduce you, let me make sure that everyone can hear me and see me in the Facebook group, and then we will get started. Hi, Janice. I see. Oh, let me turn this down. Yes, yes. Okay, so I am monitoring comments. So if you have any comments, let me know. Thank you so much for joining me. One of my friends today, they sent me a message and they were like, Becky, have you had the titty show yet? And I'm like, oh, that's funny because you've seen how I've been advertising it. And I just wanted to introduce you guys to Nate and Alysha Jackson. Hi, guys.
Hey, everybody.
Nate and Alysha have an amazing story. Actually, I haven't even heard the entire story, but when they tell you their story, and then I come back and tell you a portion of my story, you'll know why I'm so drawn to them. Now, I will tell you at the end of our little interview, Nate and Alysha have an amazing offer that they're going to present. You by no means have to purchase it at all, but I do want to let you know up front. But I want you to stick around and hear their story and how it touched my heart and then theirs. So Nate and Alysha, you can take it away.
Yeah, so our Amazon story, I'll sort of start there and then I'll tie it back to some life things. But our Amazon story started about 3.5 years ago. We were both full-time elementary teachers at the time. And I mean, teaching is an incredible profession. We both absolutely loved it. It was definitely our calling. Unfortunately, teaching does not pay the bills very well. And
we were starting to think ahead of growing our family, and so we realized for one of us to be able to stay home, it would be really hard. We wouldn't be able to teach.
Yeah, it wouldn't work for just one person to be the income earner. So that's when I started looking at side hustles and things like that. And I read about Amazon, and it sort of intrigued me because of the scalability of the FBA program. Because I mean, if I can just like do all my shopping up front, like after school or something like that, and pack it all up and then ship everything off to Amazon and have them fulfill all the orders, well, that's great. That completely works around my schedule. I can continue teaching all of that. That's great. So we started with that, and we started
researching it.
Oh yeah.
He researched it like hardcore for a while, and then came to me and was like, hey, I've got this great thing that we needed to do. It's called Amazon FBA. And I was like, yeah, okay. Like that's, I was like, sure. I didn't really think that it was going to really take off very much. So Nate said, okay, well, if I can work with $100, then can we try it? We had just gotten financially stable. So we had $100 and we started it right down there.
Yeah. So we took $100 and I just started going to like Walmart clearance sections and places like that. And I started flipping stuff. So what we were doing is retail arbitrage. And I was basically just finding stuff really cheap on clearance from a Walmart and then selling it on Amazon. And we took that $100 and we doubled it in about 2 weeks, and then we doubled it again, and then we doubled it again, and then we doubled it again, and that just kept going. In our first year, so it wasn't even like 12 months. It was, I think we started in like March. And by the end of December, we had done 180,000 in total sales, and that was just flipping $100 over and over and over.
And during this time, too, we chose not to pay ourselves anything from our business, because if you don't take from your business right away, that's the more you have to invest into your business. So we just continued having our income as teachers, and then worked weekends, holidays, after school on our Amazon business.
Pretty quickly, we realized that this was going to be a lot bigger than just a little side hustle that we could do while we're teaching. It quickly came to the point where it's like, oh, if we're like doing this, I'm making significantly more doing this in my spare time than I am going to school as a teacher. So we sort of got to the point where we decided, okay, I think think we're going to stop teaching. It was costing me money to go to work, to go to school and teach.
And we're also looking forward to, like, in the future, we had planned on becoming foster and adoptive parents. And so we knew that that would take a lot of our time as well. So we wanted to make sure that we had lots of free time or flexibility with our time so that we could really, I guess, pour into the kids that came in our home.
Yeah. So we eventually quit our teaching jobs. And at that point, like, we got a house. We used, it was like one payout from Amazon that we used was the down payment for our house.
Yeah.
And that was the very first time we ever paid ourselves. So we took one of the Amazon payouts, got ourselves a house, got licensed to be foster parents, went down that route. We've been fostering for a while. Go ahead.
Oh yeah. Okay. So our first 2 kiddos, we fostered for a year, a little over a year, and we just finalized their adoption on April 23rd.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
We were the first Zoom adoption in Lake County.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Which is great with toddlers because, you know, court and toddlers doesn't really mix. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. So who quit their job first? Did y'all quit at the same time, or one quit first?
That was the caveat, is that we had to quit at the same time because we really balanced each other out. So if one of us had just quit, it would not have worked. So yeah,
I wanted to quit, and Alysha was like, "No, I really feel strongly like if it's just you trying to do this, it's gonna crash and burn, and then you're gonna come back." So we just saved up a little bit longer and did, instead of me quitting at the end of that initial school year, we did an additional school year. So it was about, like, what was that, 14, 15 months?
Yeah, a year and a half of teaching and working.
Between when we started to when we actually quit to go full time.
Okay. And so when you first started selling on Amazon, did you start with bras?
So yeah, there was definitely a progression, and I think a lot of Amazon sellers have similar progressions. Maybe not into bras, but a lot of people will start with, like, clearance items from Walmart. That's a very, like, commonly talked about thing. And the issue that we ran into, and I love Walmart clearance. Like, I was literally at Walmart an hour ago shopping clearance, so I still do it to this day. But one of the issues with Walmart clearance is you can only spend so much money. Like, on a good day, you might find $100 worth of stuff in a clearance aisle, or $200 worth of stuff. And at a certain point, back when we were teachers, I did not have enough time to spend that kind of budget. And so I started looking to other places, like, I need to spend more money in less amount of time. Where can I go to do that? And that's when we found bras. So I went to a Kohl's one day. I was just kind of out of the blue, like, oh, let me see if I can flip any clothes here. And I start scanning stuff, and I get to the bra clearance section. And it felt like when I was coming from Walmart clearance, like, 1 out of every 10 things was unrestricted, and then 1 out of every 10 of those was profitable. So it's like, it took me a long time to find things. When I got to Kohl's clearance, it felt like literally every single item was a home run. Like, we're scanning it, it's completely unrestricted. Clothing is not a restricted category on Amazon. Most of, like, the bra brands are not restricted brands. So when I just started scanning, it's like, oh, here's 100% ROI, here's 200% ROI, here's 300% ROI. Oh my gosh, let's get everything. It quickly went from, like, I'm spending a couple hours at Walmart and coming out with $100 to I'm spending, like, 1 hour at Kohl's and spending $1,000 or $2,000.
And that's the whole goal of the business, right? And it's running your own business is to, like, have, like, good use of your time. And so that really enabled us to start capitalizing on that.
Yeah, and so we just built it up from there. I think back then, like, our biggest purchase back when we were first starting was, like, a Black Friday, and it was like $14,000 on just bras from Kohl's.
Nice.
So it was just, the scalability of it is really why we went in that direction. And I felt like it's a very easy place for a lot of beginners to start. That's why, I mean, we made, like, a whole little class thing about it to show people, like, here's the brands to get, here's how to package it, here's how to do this, here's what things to look for, what things to avoid, and all of that. So I think it's a really easy place for people to start. And to this day, like, when we use Inventory Lab for a lot of our accounting. When we look at Inventory Lab, I can still see that clothing, like bras and pants and things like that from Kohl's, still make up 70% of everything that we sell. So, like, even though we're showing beginners how to do it, it's still just wildly profitable.
Right. And I think that's one thing, the number one question that I get asked is, Becky, what do I sell? What product can I sell? And that's what I loved about your Kohl's Flipping Masterclass is bras. Everybody everywhere has bras. And they can just go into Kohl's, and with the amazing stacking that you have going on there, I mean, they can walk out and pay pennies or just dollars and make a ton of money just by bras. And so I made fun of it, like, hey, let the girls show you how to make money, no pole required. But guys, I'm very, very serious, because both Nate and Alysha have done it. And so I want you to learn from the best, right? And so that's why I brought them into this group, that you can learn how to sell just bras as well. So did you go out into other areas, or you still do retail arbitrage, or what do you focus on now?
Yeah, we still do mostly retail arbitrage. We do like some wholesale and we do online. Online arbitrage and retail arbitrage, I sort of put in the same boat. There's very little differences between the two. So we do both of those mainly with some wholesale on the side. Okay. And that's sort of our business model. But yeah, I mean, we've just continued to scale it. Like, we're 7-figure sellers. We've sold more bras than our entire house is worth. So it's like, clearly this is working. This continues to work. This isn't like, oh yeah, 3 years ago that was profitable, but nowadays you can't do it.
It's still working.
No, like, yeah, we're still going to Kohl's. We're still buying bras and pants and other clothes and things like that. But yeah, we love Kohl's, or we love bras specifically because of how many brands are unrestricted and how easy it is to find them when you're scanning.
Yeah.
Right. Now, I know some people, when they go to Kohl's and they may scan the bra, and they hear people like you guys saying, oh, you know, it's so easy, and they go scan, and they're like, I can't make any money at Kohl's. What do you tell those types of customers?
Yeah, so we've heard that a couple times. And I first want to say, like, I've been to a lot of Kohl's. Like, we've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars at Kohl's. I have never a single time come out of Kohl's empty-handed.
Right.
And I think a big part of that is because of all of like the discount stacking and things like that. I mean, anyone who has shopped at Kohl's probably agrees that Kohl's tends to like overprice their stuff a little bit, but I feel like it's with the assumption that their savvy customers are going to be couponing. And so we're stacking and stacking and stacking all these different layers. I mean, there's like 8 at least different layers of like stackable percentages and cashbacks and things like that you can stack on like every purchase. Yeah. And so when someone scans it and they're like, oh, this bra's on clearance for $20, but I can only sell it for $25. I don't make any money here. Well, they don't make any money. But when I follow right behind them and I scan that $20 bra, I've already done all my calculations, and I know I'm actually only paying like $7.50 for that $20 bra that's already on clearance, just because of all of the different ways that you can stack things. Yeah. So I think coupon stacking is really the key as far as finding things that other people, or like going into a Kohl's and finding profit where other people are not finding it.
Yeah, and you cover that in your Kohl's Flipping Masterclass, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's cool. I do have one question here. Someone said, is there a reason why you guys haven't transitioned fully to wholesale since it's more scalable?
Yeah, good question.
Yeah, that's a great question. See, the thing is, with what we do, we felt like it is pretty scalable. I'm not saying wholesale is not scalable, and we do some wholesale. But like, we have outsourced all of our packing and prepping and de-stickering and de-labeling and all of that. So
like tomorrow we have our employees coming to prep everything for us.
Yeah. So like I was out today and I spent a few $1,000s, but that's all the work that I have to do. And so I don't necessarily need it to be more scalable than that, because like I'm only shopping like 10 to 15 hours a week.
You kind of enjoy it too. You enjoy the
hunt. And I enjoy like the thrill of the hunt. It feels like I'm treasure hunting yeah. So I'm only really shopping 10 to 15 hours a week at this point in our business. I don't want to say like, oh yeah, this is easy, you don't need to spend much time at all. That's not what I'm saying. It's once you're at scale, once you have your systems in place, like we have employees that come over and they take stickers off, they pack everything up for us, they ship it out. And because of that, I don't have to spend my time doing it. So
you would think that the bigger you get, the more work you have, but we found the opposite to be true. We work way less now than we did in the beginning. Yeah. Because it's such a huge learning curve.
Yes.
Yeah, we work way less now than we did before.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so I think that's a big thing. And with wholesale, there's also additional risks as well. Not so much for us because our budget can handle it, but I know starting off, a lot of people are looking at wholesale and there's some risks there involved. Like dropping your whole budget on something.
Yeah, and I think it's great that you guys started with just $100. So for those of you that are just tuning in, Nate and Alysha just started with $100. And so I think Nate was the go-getter and said, let's do this. And Alysha's like, here's $100. And, you know, in my story, I actually put $32,000 on a credit card before I even told my husband. And didn't tell him until my Amazon account got shut down. I was curled up in the fetal position, like, oh my gosh. But now I'm a 7-figure seller as well. So all's well that ends well. But I was like curled up in the fetal position. It was bad. So I could see like Alysha now, like she would have had a heart attack with me. Like, what are you doing?
One of us would not have made it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, listen, oh wait, someone else wants to get in. I actually have this on Zoom as well, so I'm trying to monitor Zoom and Facebook at the same time. So tell me, how old are your children now?
1 and 2.
1 and 2. I saw the coffee story on your Facebook wall.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Amazing.
Was
that your personal coffee or coffee you were selling?
No, that was my coffee.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because I know coffee sells very well online as well, so that's cool.
It was my personal stash.
Yeah, that was cute. Okay, so you sell on Kohl's, you do some retail arbitrage, you do some wholesale. Can you talk to me a little bit about how you how you manage your time, like with your family?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, and this is, I feel like it's always like a work in progress. Yeah. With any entrepreneur or business owner.
We've shifted roles so many times between him and I, and we've kind of shifted around who's responsible for what so many times and adjusted and readjusted. And I feel like in a few months we readjust. One thing that I love is that like when our kids came, we literally went from 0 kids to 2 kids under 2 overnight. Like within a couple hours. And so what we were able to do with our business, because it was so automated, is that we took a month or 2 off.
Actually, it was closer to 3 months. We didn't
I don't remember
anything
much.
for Amazon.
It was great. But we didn't do much for Amazon at all and got to really bond with them and spend time with them and then ramp back up.
Yeah, and we had enough inventory in place that like we were still able to pay the bills and all of that because all of our inventory was already in Amazon, so it was okay. Now
with our business, it looks a little different because we're able to be more flexible.
Yeah, so I think one thing that's been helping us more is sort of like having particular days for particular tasks. So like, okay, this day I'm going to do all of my shopping, or like Monday, Tuesday, I do all of my shopping. And then other days we can spend with family or work on other business ventures, things like that.
And for us, we did kind of divide and conquer. So I mainly do handle the kids and the house and stuff, and then help Nate with the business, and he mainly does the business and then also helps with the kids in the house. So that's kind of how we.
I think it'll sort of depend on, like, if you're a family, like husband and wife with kids, I think it's going to depend on who you are. Everyone's sort of wired differently, so there's no like right or wrong way. I think it's important to be on the same page with your spouse.
Exactly. Divide and conquer, though, is our.
Yeah, that's really good because I still work I still work a 7-figure job. I still have a 6-figure job that for my career of 24 years that I work, and I absolutely love it. And I supervise chemists. So I'm a scientist. And so the number one question I get asked is, if you're doing so well on Amazon, why are you still working? And I'm not the cook and clean type of mama, but my husband is, Big Papa. So we retired him in 2016. And he cooks and cleans and goes fishing and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So
that's great.
it works. Basically what you were saying is what works with your family. So with your spouse. So that would be one of the recommendations to our listeners, if you could do that. So someone they said, hi, Becky, awesome story. Could you please share their page and contact info? Yes, I will. So that's what I was going to get into now. So how did you transition? Of course, when you're doing so well, everybody, they want to know what you're selling. So you tell them bras and other things, but then they want to know your story and how you did it. And so can you share now how you transitioned into teaching others? Because you also have a group that you teach.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've been teachers for most of our lives. It's like Alysha studied it in college and everything. So it was always like showing other people how to do things was always sort of part of our blood.
Yeah. And we have a lot of friends that we've gone out with and shown how to do Amazon. And we have family members that now do this full time. which is awesome. And I think we kind of got that bug of seeing like friends and family go from like learning how to do Amazon to like, we actually have a close friends and family members before we even did anything teaching that do this full time, just from kind of.
Yeah, we had multiple sort of like unofficial mentees where like my sister, we just showed her how to do everything.
And she took off.
In her first 12 months, she did $250,000 just doing exactly what we do.
Does she live near you? Does she live near you, your sister?
No.
Oh,
We're in Florida. She lives up in Indiana. So we just went there like a couple times for like family reunion type things, and I'd show her how to do everything. And then it was funny because it sort of like brought us together even more because we talk all the time on the phone now about business.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, so we were showing like our friends and family and things like that. And the people that we were showing like, man, you should really like start a YouTube or start a Facebook group or something. And I was like, oh, maybe.
Well, we had extra time too because Amazon had automated itself so much that we had some leeway in there for time.
Yeah. So once it was like, okay, I guess I'm only working like 10, 15 hours a week to my sourcing. I started to sort of look into it, and I felt like there weren't a lot of, at least like the Amazon communities that I was a part of personally were not really positive spaces for beginners. And so we're like, I feel like this is really missing in like the Amazon world, like having like this like positive, uplifting sort of environment.
There's also just also not a lot of women involved in a lot of the Amazon spaces as well.
Yes, and you are one of the few that we've ever met.
Yeah. That's hard to find.
Yeah, it's a very male-dominated space. Not a lot of like family type situations. A lot of like young guys with Ferraris, like that's all over the place.
It's like, that's not me.
With a rented Ferrari.
Yeah. I got Lambo right here. I talk about it all the time. It's my treadmill, and it takes me all over the world. We go to the Alps and to Canada. Further than Lambos could ever take them. So I did a whole Facebook Live on my Lambo one time.
Yeah.
But you're right. So, they rent the mansions and the Ferraris, and it's like, no, this is not an Amazon.
It's not real. It's not real. Like, we have our little minivan out front and our 2 kids, and we're like.
Yeah, we drive our Honda Odyssey around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And our goal is to spend time with our family, not to be like, own a mansion or own a Ferrari. Our goal is to have our time with our family.
Yeah, that's something I think a lot of people get caught up on some numbers, especially in some of like the larger Facebook groups. People will post like a sales snapshot. It's like, oh, I'm doing 100,000 in the past week. And everyone thinks they're so great, but it's like, but what are you giving up to sort of do that? And that's, I don't know.
And also profit margin.
Yeah, and also.
Yeah, profit margin. And that was one of the questions that was asked. What profit margins can someone expect, maybe like selling bras?
Yeah, I mean, obviously this is going to vary drastically depending on what you're buying. Usually what I tell people is like stick to like the rule of thirds or the 3X rule. So if I'm buying a bra for about $10, I want to sell it for about $30 because Amazon fees are going to be about 30% of that. And then my cost of goods is about 30%. And then my profit would be 30%. So, and we've stuck pretty well to that. Even as we've scaled, I know a lot of people, their margins get smaller as they scale, but that's been something important to us to keep our margins high. So our average profit margin hovers between like 22 to 27%. And I'd say that's pretty normal. I would actually say it's likely going to be higher when you're first starting because you're going to be a lot pickier on which items that you're buying. And you haven't outsourced as much. So like part of our costs, like we're paying for employees and we're paying for this and that and the other things that someone who's just starting won't be paying. And so your profit margin is going to be a little bit higher.
Yeah. Okay. That's cool. Another question, are you both keeping up your teaching license in Florida?
Alysha has.
I have like a long-term one.
Okay.
So mine won't expire for another couple years. I think Nate is no longer.
Yeah, mine doesn't work anymore.
Okay, and so I always like to play devil's advocate because you always have to, you're an entrepreneur, so you have to weigh your risk, right?
Yes.
So do you ever fear, since you said Kohl's was like 70% of your income, have you ever feared that Kohl's might go under?
So we've talked about before, like if everything hit the fan, okay, like I go back to teaching, I like think worst case scenario personally. Yeah. So, okay, I go back to teaching and he would find other ways to make money too. And like, if our backup plan is me doing a job that I love and Nate finding other ways to be an entrepreneur, that's a pretty good follow-up plan.
Yeah. our worst case scenario is most other people's normal case scenario.
Yeah. I was just saying that, but it's always, they always say, and I'll ask you as well, do you sell on anything besides Amazon? Because I mean, you could get those bras, super cheap.
Yeah, and I think this sort of goes hand in hand as far as like worst case scenario. There's sort of like different levels. So like if we get kicked off of Amazon, that's sort of worst case scenario. But there's also like, oh, what if Kohl's stops selling to me? Well, then I'll just switch stores. I'll go to other places. I'll go to more like outlets, like Nike outlets, Adidas outlets are great for us. They're not good for beginners, but they're good for experienced people. But other platforms, we have actually, about 3 days ago, I signed up to sell on Walmart because I saw that they just partnered with Shopify. And I want to do some content about it. I want to sort of show people my journey with signing up for Walmart and seeing if I can do it.
Yeah. Bless you.
Yeah, it's a whole other world. I don't know anything about it yet.
Touch it with a 10-foot pole. There's real good sales over there. Not as good as Amazon, but and my Walmart selling is it's not my product. A supplier actually ships it to Walmart, and it's like Amazon FBA, but it's Walmart FBA, and it's a Shark Tank product. So I looked up and I have an exclusive with a Shark Tank.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's pretty amazing, and I don't touch it and just get sit back and get money.
That's amazing.
All from my husband posted a funny video on his Facebook page many years ago. And his friend was like, ha, is Becky selling that on eBay yet? And I'm like, no, but that's a great idea. And I started Googling and calling and finding, and I found it. And
that's
so
great.
That's amazing.
That's how it works. Yeah. Well, that's pretty cool. Let me see if there's any other questions for you guys.
You see someone over in Zoom while you're looking on the Facebook group. I can, because I've got chat from Zoom.
As well?
Yeah, I can see Zoom. So yeah, Mahmoud asks, what have you outsourced and where did we find employees?
Yeah, so we outsource pretty much everything except for shopping.
And like actually, for a time, we even outsourced shopping.
Yeah, we did. So for us, we found employees. Right now, it's our friends' daughters, their teenage daughters. So, and 20-year-old daughter. So I would just recommend finding people that you can train easily, that are going to be dependable, and also people that you are okay with correcting. It's not going to be awkward. People that can take it well. So, because when you hire friends, it can get kind of iffy sometimes. Just be careful hiring friends. It can sometimes work out and it sometimes won't. So just hire someone that you are okay having tough conversations with, and then you'll be okay.
Yeah. I think it also sort of depends on your environment. If you're doing this from your home. So for us, we could get a warehouse that, like, we've talked about it, but we don't want that. Like, our goal for this whole thing is to stay home with our kids full time. So if we got a warehouse, that wouldn't be aligning with our goals. So because we do this within our house, I don't want to just like go to like LinkedIn and hire some random person off the street. I want the person.
We want to know them.
I want to know them in some capacity.
They're going to be around our kids. And so for us, that it has to be someone that we know.
Yeah. So for the most part, it's been like friends, teenage kids, because really like the stuff that they're doing is not rocket science. We're not managing scientists like you are. We're just showing people how to take like clearance stickers off and then fold a bra and put it in a bag.
And with listing, there's some like critical thinking there going on, but it's you can train someone to do it.
Yeah, it's very trainable.
Right. I know we have some international people watching us. Do you have any international students, and do you teach them how to find their own clients here in the US, etc.?
Yeah, so we do have some, especially like from the UK, some in Canada, and I know they don't have Kohls. A lot of these same principles will apply to other countries, like the UK, for example. You may not have Kohl's, but you have like TK Maxx is a great place in the UK that you can find bras. And a lot of the same principles apply. For those people who are trying to sell on Amazon.com from outside of the country, most likely what you're going to have to do is use a prep center. So we don't talk specifically about prep centers because you just get a prep center. Like I don't really know a whole lot to say more than that. But we do talk about doing online arbitrage with Kohl's, which you can do from outside the US. So you can be purchasing things on these big sale days from anywhere in the world, and then have Kohl's ship it to a prep center, and then have that prep center send it on to Amazon.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, that's a great question, because they asked, have you ever considered using a 3PL or third-party logistics? And is it too expensive?
For us, with retail arbitrage, it doesn't usually make sense. Like online arbitrage, sometimes wholesale, sometimes private label, all of those times it makes sense. But for retail arbitrage, like I would have to still be physically like driving the product to a warehouse. And our costs, like we've compared our employee cost to the shipping center places. Usually it's costing me like, I mean, again, these are all averages, but usually it's costing me about 40 cents an item to get it like packed, prepped, labeled, and shipped. Whereas most prep centers charge a base of $1, and usually for clothing, it's more like $1.50, $2. So, right. I mean, we'd be like tripling or quadrupling our costs using a prep center for what we do because we already have all of the systems in place.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's great. Let me see what else I was going to ask you guys. So, you know, I don't even know how I found you. What I do,
I don't either.
like every day or so, I see new people just popping up teaching Amazon. And once you look at them, you're like, they don't know what they're talking about. But when I saw your group and I saw you, and I loved how down to earth you are, because one, I didn't know that, you know, you had a Honda Odyssey, but most people are like the, you know, the Lambos and the this and the that. And it's like, But that's one thing. But the main thing is, you know, when I was younger, I was a foster child. And those are so, I'm a statistic, basically, because they usually don't turn out with such happy endings like this. So that was what initially drew me to you. And then my husband, Big Papa, just walked in. He was adopted. And so the fact that you adopted as well, I was like, oh, you know, I'm a feeler. And when you connect with people on the heart, you know, you can't touch that with a stick, no matter what. So I really appreciate that. And then, so you decided you wanted to teach others. So tell me, okay, so you have a group, and someone asked how to connect, and we'll tell you how to connect. Their group is called Hustle Buddies. Is that right?
Hustle Buddies.
Yep, Hustle Buddies. If you look it up on Facebook, it's called Hustle Buddies. Same with YouTube. If you just type in Hustle Buddies, you should be able to find us that way.
Yeah.
Okay. How did you come up with that name?
It's what we are.
Yeah, we used it before we even started teaching people how to do Amazon. We used it with each other because we just hustled so hard, especially in the beginning. We worked so hard.
Like we would joke with our other teacher friends, oh yeah, we're just hustle buddies.
We're my business partner, my hustle buddy.
Yeah.
We graduated from husband and wife to hustle buddies.
Hustle buddies. That's awesome. And I like to see power couples as well that do this together and show. Now, Big Papa, he's the skeptical type. Right. And when I started drop shipping, that was my very first thing. And he was like, that's pretty amazing. And then he listed his first item, no lie, he did it all himself, and it sold in 15 minutes. And if you have a skeptical person, like I know a lot of people that follow me, they're like, there's no money in Amazon. And so what I wanted to do is start interviewing people to show that, yes, there is money in Amazon, but yes, you have to work for it as well.
Yeah.
It's not easy. And I'm sure you guys can testify to that as well as I can in my story.
Oh yeah, especially at the start. Like I know we were saying, oh yeah, I only work 10 hours or 15 hours a week. But again, that's because we have the systems in place. We have employees. I know where to go. I know where to look. When we were first starting, like we were working 40 hours a week as teachers, and then I was working like another 40 hours a week on Amazon, and I wasn't paying myself for like more than a year.
Right. And anyone telling you that it's easy in the beginning is probably just trying to
take your money.
I
actually just a call this morning, and I say, guys, don't compare your numbers to what you see. We kind of already talked about that. But I also touched on when I first started selling, and I put in so much time, and I was comparing my hours that I worked to the dollars that I made, and I think I made like 50 cents an hour, like after I figured out the math. And I'm like, wait a minute, and that's the wrong way to think about it, because I'm a business owner now, and you know, you're investing your time to build your business later, and now I can just sit here and do this. And you know, my supply, I literally do not touch. I don't do retail arbitrage. Only, well, I don't want to say I don't. Only if I find cool things, like I have one that I paid $5 for and sell for $95, and I can't keep it in stock. I can't find it. So that's the kind that I do. But I enjoy the hustle of watching everybody else. And you know, the drop shippers, their little thumbs are hurting from all the copying and pasting, but each one of them has a procedures in place that, you know, they started, but back when they first started, it wasn't that way. I mean, Big Papa used to come home because he was he worked in the fire, he was a battalion chief at the fire department. And he would come home and he's like, Becky, are you going to clean this house? And I looked him right in the eye and I said, no. I said, these people are making $10,000 a month. And if they can do it, I can do it too. And now we pay somebody to fold our toilet paper like a rose, right? Yep. Every week.
Outsourcing.
But it wasn't that Big Papa was like, come on, girl. You know?
We don't relate at all to that.
You have to make some sacrifices.
Although if you told me to clean the house again.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Was there anything else you want to share? We've been going for about 45 minutes now. Or if anybody has any more questions as well. Let's see here. I will share their page so you guys can follow them and learn from them as well. Hi, Chris. Thanks for joining. Hey, I have two Janices watching, Anna, Angela. Great for everybody to watch. So tell me a little bit about your Kohl's flipping masterclass and how much it cost and things like that.
Nate worked super hard on this to revamp. He did this a while ago, like a webinar, and then he completely revamped everything to make it really friendly. Yeah.
So I did a live webinar back in like November, just to sort of get like a baseline. We did a lot of Q&A. I did sort of a base, and then what was it, about a month ago or so, I went back in, I redid 100% of it. I took all of like the questions and frequently asked things, put them all together into like a well formatted thing. That was another thing. In part of my research, I always buy other people's courses to see how do they put it together? What do they look like? Where do I feel like it is bad? Where do I feel like it's great? And try to improve on that. And so I felt like with our background in teaching, I kept watching all these webinars. It's like, oh man, this person's just going on and on and on, and I can't follow this. So we broke it up so it's nice and easy to follow for you guys. But yeah, so it goes through everything. Whether you're like an absolute beginner, you've never sold anything. Well, let me preface it with, I go in with the assumption that you have an Amazon account.
Yeah.
If you have that, then you're fine. If you don't, then
get that first.
Get that first.
Yeah, I have a standard operating procedure that I give everyone on how to create an Amazon account. Like click here, click here. So it's
So it assumes that you have an account, but everything else, like it's fine for either beginner sellers or, I mean, sellers who've been working at this for years. We had somebody, it's like, yeah, I've been selling on Amazon like 3 years, and I never thought of going to Kohl's, and I walked out with like $2,000 of stuff on my very first trip. So like it was cool to see that from even experienced sellers. But yeah, it takes people through everything, like where to source, exactly what brands to look for, what places to avoid. It goes through like how to stack all of your discounts perfectly. I mean, there's some really interesting ways how to like always get free shipping. There's little like strange tricks. Like, I mean, I'll throw this out to you guys as sort of like a freebie preview, but there's actually a way where you can use a GPS spoofer on your computer or on your phone to make your computer's location look like you're inside Kohl's. And if your computer looks like it's inside Kohl's, Kohl's will give you free shipping on anything you ever purchase. And so there's little things like that where it's like, man, I'd never thought of that before when we're talking to other people. But so it goes through all of that, how to pack it, how to prep it, how to ship it, like some repricing strategies and all of that. We try to cover absolutely everything you would ever need.
That way it's good for beginners and experienced sellers too.
So yeah, we put as much in there as I possibly could think of. Like, what would somebody need to like make a thriving business only selling bras? And we feel like we were able to accomplish that. So.
Yeah, and I totally agree. So before I make my comment, have you ever heard of geocaching?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, when I watched your course, because I've watched it, when you were talking about that tip being inside of Kohl's, the thing that I thought about was, instead of geocaching, I thought of bra cha-ching. Like bra. I was like, this is so amazing. So guys, if you want to go bra cha-chinging at Kohl's, to get this course, because it really is amazing. And you know, one thing, I am an affiliate for their course, and I'll be completely honest, but what Nate and Alysha do is they give the sellers like 50% if you want to tell your friends. And I said, no, I want to give you an extra 10% off. So if you use the code Amazon Queen, you get an extra 10% off of the price. And it's what, 97?
It's 97. It's just under 100. So 97. So that'd bring it down to like 87, 88, somewhere around there.
Yeah. So less than the price of 2 good bras. You have to sell millions of bras and make enough money to pay a down payment on your new house if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
That's
right now is actually, I know like people always say, right now is the time to buy this.
But really it is.
And regardless of the course, even if you know how to shop at
Right.
Kohl's already, right now is the best time to go to Kohl's because they're clearancing out their clearance. Because of the virus that just happened, most Kohl's have an additional like 35% off, which can then be stacked with their 30% off, which is stacked with their Kohl's Cash, which is stacked with their Yes to You. Like, we have never, in our 3.5 years of doing this, I've never seen this like extra layer, and it's 35% off at like the top end. So it's monstrous.
So even if you don't get the course, go to Kohl's.
Yeah, even if you don't buy the course, please go to Kohl's and buy a bunch of stuff.
Oh, that's kind of cool. So what do you say when you're walking around with $14,000 worth of bras or pants or whatever, and some nosy Nancy?
We have the best story about this.
We've got a really good story, and then we'll give you some answers. So back when we were teachers, ladies and gentlemen, again, we were elementary teachers. I was a music teacher, so I had kindergarten all the way through 6th grade. So one day we're at Kohl's, and this is one of our large, I don't think it was Black Friday, but I mean, we had probably like $8,000 to $10,000 of bras. This is multiple carts. Like, we had a caravan that we're sort of pushing down the aisle. I'm scanning a shelf. I'm completely clearing the shelf.
He's surrounded by carts of bras. I had wandered off to go scan other stuff.
So yeah, so here I am with my phone. It sort of looks like I'm taking pictures of bras. I'm not. I'm scanning them. I'm clearing whole shelves, and then out of the corner of my eye, I see this little tiny person. Mr. Jackson? And it's one of my little 1st grade students and her mom just like turn the corner. The mom is just beet red. She's mortified. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I know this is awkward. I didn't know how to stop her. And I felt terrible. Like, Alysha, hey, I'm not taking pictures of bras.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so we'll get this question if it's from like there's sort of 2 different answers. So if it's from a fellow customer, usually I just joke around with them like, oh, I've got lots of wives, or like something, because they don't really care, or
we'll
something
tell
like
them to you.
Or I might even talk to them about it, like, oh yeah, I've got a lot of student loans, like I was doing this to pay off student loans, things like that, just sort of chit-chatting it up with people. I never mind talking to someone. If it's someone from the store, then I always tell them what I'm doing, because part of business in general, whether you're doing arbitrage or wholesale or any other type of business, the biggest aspect of the business is relationships. And so if I can talk to a store about what I'm doing and be upfront about it, I can get managers' phone numbers. When I get managers' phone numbers, then they text me when more clearance sales go on. And so like if a manager walks up and they're sort of like looking at me weird, maybe they don't initiate it, I usually am the one to instigate, like, oh, hey, I'm selling these things. Do you have any more of this in the back? And I'll start that conversation. We're like, hey, what are your sales numbers for the day? Can I help you hit like your sales goals? I've got a ton to spend. Let me know how much you want me to spend today. Like things like that are sort of like icebreakers, where it's like, let me scratch your back and then you show me where your good clearance stuff is.
Yeah.
And that's worked really well for us. I have a ton of managers' phone numbers. We're always getting texts. There was a manager today, there's a store going out of sale, and everything's like 25% off. And I was like, okay, text me and call me when it flips to 50%. And we're going to have a big donut party. I will bring coffee. I will bring donuts for everybody. I will come in before the store opens. And they're like, oh yeah, that sounds great. That sounds great. So like when that store flips, not only will I get a message, but I'm going to be there before any other resellers because I've built that relationship.
Awesome. Awesome. That's a golden tip right there, guys. That's like $1 million tip.
Yeah,
So
it really is.
You need to write that down because that's a great tip. So yeah, that's amazing. I love y'all's story, like I've already said, and thank you so much for sharing. And listen, if you want to purchase the Kohl's Flipping Masterclass, you can go to makemoneywithbecky.com, and it's all spelled out, makemoneywithbecky.com, and to get the extra discount, the code is Amazon Queen, and it's all together, no space. So Amazon Queen. And thank you so much, guys, for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, and I'm going to put the link below this Facebook. I'm going to put the link over to their Facebook group. Go over there. It's amazing. There's what, like 16,000 people in there?
I think we just hit 16,000.
Crazy.
Yeah, we only started this like 7 months ago.
So let's talk about that a little bit. How do you manage your group?
We've
got some rock star mods.
Yes. Yeah, we didn't know how this would explode. Like we started this, or you started this early in November, right?
Yeah.
November.
Yeah.
And now we have 16,000 people in the group. I think people were honestly just looking for a positive space. I think it really comes down to that.
Yeah, I think that's a huge part of it. There's like, we do some managing, but because we've facilitated sort of like the mindset of the group to being like, we are positive, we are encouraging, we're uplifting. Family oriented. Like, I don't really have to weed out spam or people that are trolls or things like that, because those type of people don't want to be in our group.
Right. Yeah. That, and too, remember I mentioned how there's not a lot of women in the Amazon space?
Yes.
What is it, 50% of our group?
No, it's like 72% of our group is women.
Killing it.
Wow.
Like, growing their businesses, and that's, so we're just excited about that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, guys, thank you so much for your time. Big Papa's over there cooking me dinner, so I'm
all right.
Dinner. But thank you for your time. And once again, if you want to purchase the amazing Kohl Flipping Master Course class, you can go to makemoneywithbecky.com, and the code is Amazon Queen. Are there any last questions before we get off? Makemoneywithbecky.com. Yes, Anna, that is the website to go to. Makemoneywithbecky.com. Okay. Janice said that would be amazing to learn it and teach it to others. Yes, Janice, and I encourage you to do that, because when one teaches, to learn, because you have to learn it before you actually teach it as well. So I like that. And Nate, my son, loves music. He plays the saxophone, the keyboard, and all three types of guitars.
Wow.
So
That's
if
great.
you weren't fishing right now, you would hear him up there rocking out something. So
well, when I'm not playing music, I'm out fishing. So I think I found my soulmate over there.
Yeah. I'll have to tell him if he was here, he would love that. He's 13, so we're hoping he's going into. Sorry, he's 14. My nephew lives with us. He's 13. My son's 14, but he's going into the 9th grade, and so we're trying to see if he'll do the marching band.
Yeah, that'd be super cool.
Exciting.
Yeah, but thank you so much again, and I will put the links down below for everyone, and thank you for your time.
Yes,
awesome,
thank you.
Thank you. We'll see you guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.